What's going on? My name is Isaiah Coleman, and I am the curator of The Connected. This is Fatherhood Friday. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Fatherhood Friday. I want to jump right into it like we've been doing the last couple weeks, and I want to discuss the importance and the significance of fatherhood advocacy, okay? Of fatherhood advocacy. Oftentimes, fathers are forgotten about. Fathers are pushed to the side. Fathers are denied almost the right of being a parent, of being one of the primary parents. The mothers get all the love, right? The mothers get all of the attention. I notice it a ton in my own life, in my own personal experiences. When we take our kids to daycare, how the female teachers and staff members and administrators naturally give my wife more attention, more of a welcoming feel when she enters the building or when she enters the classroom, as opposed to when I enter the building or the classroom. I notice it in the maternal settings, at the hospitals, at the ultrasound visits, at all the visits that lead up to the pregnancy and lead up to the birth. The mom, of course, right, gets a lot of the attention, gets all of the attention. But there are times when you're the father and you're sitting in the room with the doctor, with the other parent, with the mom, and you're completely disregarded. You're completely disrespected almost, because there are times when a doctor enters a room and they just say, "Hi, mom," and they just completely disrespect or disregard the male figure in the room. Happens more times than not, which happens to be the father. I notice this time and time again, and it's very unfortunate. And I can't necessarily say, women, you guys are wrong for this. You should not be disrespecting men in this case, because honestly, for a very long time, women have been subjugated, have been marginalized and disregarded in the same sense that I'm speaking of right now. However, times are continuing to evolve. And what I'm learning is, men, if you want to continue to evolve with the times, you have to learn how to adapt in these spaces, in the sense of really just your mindset, right? Your mindset needs to shift. That's probably a better way of saying it. Women are becoming more and more independent. Women are becoming more and more educated, more and more successful. And men, unfortunately, are not continuing to ascend at the same rate and level as women. Therefore, men, I think we need to shift our mindset in the sense of, we need to be a little bit more involved and engaged with the childhood aspect, right? If we have young children, we need to get more involved and engaged with the concerns and the happenings that are going on in our children's lives. And I think if we do this, because again, I'm only thinking about right now what we can control, but if we can do this on a more general level, if we can do this in large numbers, I believe, hopefully, women, mothers, women and female administrators and staff members at schools, in hospitals, and doctors' offices can start to see us as that viable partner, as they do when they see the mother walk in, right? When they see that mother walk in, they automatically assume that that mother is the primary parent. Now, I'm not saying this is an easy thing to do, because this honestly, for me personally, goes completely against my nature as a man, right? I want to be there for my children as much as possible, but I can be honest with you, the natural instinct for me is to really be just that protector, to be that provider, to be present with my children and making sure that they understand that their father has their back and is there to love them just as much as their mom. But the little nitty gritty things I could be better at personally. This video, this episode is solely just to begin to bring fatherhood advocacy and awareness to the forefront, because for a very long time in those childhood maternal spaces, we again are often disregarded, often forgotten about, often pushed to the side, and it doesn't feel good because at the end of the day, it takes two. It can never just be one parent. A single parent household is missing a completely separate and second perspective that ultimately helps the child become whole as they get older, as they grow up, as they attend school, as they befriend individuals, as they just live a happy, prosperous, and successful life. So women, be more mindful, if possible, when you are meeting a man for the first time. Please do your absolute best to put your biases, put your limited beliefs to the side, and allow that individual man to be him, and you give him his individual chance of making an impression on you. And don't try to group together all of your impressions of every man that you've ever met in your life. Try to do your best and meet that individual where he is. And men, I would say to you, we need to be more open-minded about our role inside the family and our role inside our child's life, if we're going to get that respect that we're seeking when we enter these maternal spaces, when we enter these schoolhouse spaces, so that we're not pushed to the side, so that we're not disregarded, and that our words, our opinions, our thoughts, our input is just as important as the mothers of our children. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Fatherhood Friday. I'm going to continue to advocate for my fathers, continue to advocate for men, not in a sexist way, but in a way in which we, or myself, can articulate our mental health, our emotional health is just as important as the mothers. All right. Thanks again for tuning in. If you're into this type of stuff, like, follow, and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Take care. Peace out.